I think one of the biggest misconceptions about fear is that people believe that fear is trying to stop us. But I don't think it is. I think it's actually there trying to protect us. And that sounds like a really great thing until you realize what fear is actually trying to protect you from. Because it's not failure, it's not rejection, and it's not change. It's protecting us from feeling uncomfortable, from feeling embarrassed, from feeling uncertain, from feeling disappointed. And the problem is, when we spend time avoiding those feelings, we actually avoid the experience that could completely change our lives. So today, I want to explore fear from a completely different perspective. Because I don't believe that the goal is to become fearless. I think the goal is to stop letting the fear of the uncomfortable emotions quietly shape the life that you're trying to create. Welcome to the Inner Launch, where we explore how the small shifts on the inside can transform the life you create on the outside. I'm your host, Christina Bolkovich, and today we're talking about fear, but not in the way that you've probably heard it before. Most conversations about fear focus on overcoming it, but I want us to understand it. Because once you understand what fear is actually trying to do, you get to decide if you want to actually let fear have a vote in your life. Fear is rarely about the event. Fear is usually about the emotion that event is going to cause you. The emotion, not the event. So for instance, if you have a job interview and you're a little bit fearful and worrisome of this job interview, it's not because you're worried about the job. It's because you're worried that somebody is going to say no. If you're afraid of starting a business, you aren't afraid of the business itself, but you're afraid of publicly failing. If you're afraid of not having everything lined up when you meet your person, you're afraid that they're going to judge you. You're likely not afraid of speaking up either. You're afraid of being judged for speaking up. The situation is not what you're avoiding. We are avoiding how an image will feel. Without even realizing it, most of the decisions that we make in life are based on trying to avoid the discomfort that comes along with it, instead of actually pursuing what really matters to us. That is why so many of us stay busy with things like overthinking, because overthinking protects us from making the wrong choices. We people please because people pleasing protects us from being rejected. We stay busy to protect us from being alone with ourselves. We stay comfortable because it protects us from the uncertainty that comes with the unknown and being uncomfortable. We tell ourselves that we're being practical, but in reality, we're actually just avoiding that discomfort that comes along with it. But avoiding uncomfortable emotions also means that we are missing out on meaningful experiences. If you avoid uncertainty, you often miss adventures. If you avoid vulnerability, you often miss connections. If you avoid disappointment, you may never chase your biggest dream. You can't selectively only experience the comfortable parts of life, because growth, love, purpose, and fulfillment all require emotional links. Sometimes fear repeats itself so much that we mistake it for being our identity. Things like saying, "I'm just not confident." Well, as we already know, confidence comes from taking action, not before it. I've always been this way. But were you? Because I'm pretty sure you didn't come out of your mom thinking that. I'm not a risk taker. No. You haven't been a risk taker, because that would require you to actually bet on yourself. I'm too old to start over. Says who? What age is actually too old? What age is actually not worth going after your dreams? Who's deciding that? Because that doesn't sound like something that society necessarily says. I think it's something that you're telling yourself. Is this really my personality? Or is it the story that I've repeatedly told myself because it feels safer? Fear can sound like identity when we listen to it for so long. So instead of trying to eliminate the fear, I'm going to challenge you to get curious about it. Instead of asking things like, how do I stop being afraid? Ask yourself, what feeling am I trying to avoid? Ask yourself, what's the worst that could happen? Because so many times we are so worried that all these things are going to happen that we stop. We don't even try. We hold ourselves back. But okay, so if you try it and you hypothetically fail, well, didn't you learn a lesson? Now you know how not to do it, and now you're one step closer to actively getting what you want. Why are we so afraid of that failure? Mistakes are a part of life. It's how we learn, it's how we grow. And I have certainly made a lot of them. And I think we all do. That is, if we're actually going after what we want. But when you play it safe, you may not be making those mistakes, which essentially means you may not be learning. You may not be growing because you're playing it safe. So then ask yourself, after you already think of the worst thing that could happen, could you handle it? Ask yourself, what would I choose if I actually trusted myself enough to handle the emotions that came along with that decision? Because sometimes the breakthrough isn't that fear disappears. Fear rarely disappears. It's realizing that you are capable of whatever comes next. I don't think courage is the absence of fear. I think courage is trusting yourself enough to experience whatever fear is trying to protect you from. Because the truth is, you have already survived disappointment. You've already survived rejection. You've already survived uncertainty. You've likely already survived heartbreak. You've likely even survived things that you once thought would break you. So why is it that you are so afraid of everything? Because track records show you've survived. You can do it. Don't put fear in the driver's seat and let fear drive your life. Because you are more capable than you have allowed yourself to be. So this week, I'm going to leave you with one question. So this week, I want you to ask yourself, what feeling have I been trying so hard to avoid? And how has avoiding that feeling shaped the life that I'm currently living? The life that you're currently living today, not in the future, today. And you don't have to answer this quickly. You can sit with it. Take your time. Because your answer may reveal that fear isn't just influencing one decision. It may be influencing the direction of your life. So this is your reminder that you don't need to have it all figured out. Change doesn't come from rushing forward. It comes from paying attention and choosing yourself in the small ways. Because these small shifts on the inside can transform the life you're creating on the outside. So make sure that it is what you actually want. If this episode resonated with you, I want to invite you to share it with a friend. Please subscribe. And if you want to dive a little bit deeper and see how we can work together, please visit the show notes. This has been another episode of The Inner Launch, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye!